Okay guys, so in this video I'm going to talk about the basics of making a mod, so the tools that you're going to need to use in every mod you work on. I'm going to do that by making one of my more simple mods. And in this video I'm also going to obviously show how to make my particular mod, but the skills that you're going to learn in this hopefully will help you no matter what mod you're working on doing. So let's start with the basic tools that I use in modding. First is Rusted Pack File Manager. This is where we're going to do, every mod that we work on is going to use this to some degree. The other tool that we have is Asset Editor. Asset Editor is an excellent tool for modifying like characters and animations and stuff. This is just excellent. The guy who makes this, Ole, regularly updates it, regularly adds new features. He's super active on the modding Discord channel. He's an excellent resource. He's just great. The other thing we're going to need is some kind of photo editing software. Personally, I use Photoshop and GIMP and Paint.net. Paint.net and GIMP are all you really need. They're free, so use those. Okay, now for this mod, I'm just going to be working in Rusted Pack File Manager. So what we want to do, first of all, is make sure that the game selected is Warhammer 3. And we're going to go to special stuff, Warhammer 3, and generate dependencies cache. So this will generate this. I have it already generated. Anytime there's an update to the game, you'll probably have to do it again. But that's a great way to check to make sure our mod doesn't have any issues. And it actually works really well. It's a better error detector than probably anything I've ever seen. All right, so we're going to go to a new pack file. And the first thing I'm going to do is just save my pack file. I'm saving it in my data folder of Warhammer 3. This is where we're going to upload our mods from. So we need it saved there. Once you've uploaded it to the workshop though, you should remove it from the data folder. I store all of my mods in one folder so that on my desktop, just to keep them all in one place. That way I have them. If I need to update, I drag them into the data folder, make my updates, upload it to Workshop, and then put it back into those. The reason why you don't want it in the data folder is that if you make a mod and you play multiplayer with that mod with a friend who also is using that mod, it's not going to work. It will say that you have incompatible versions. So at a basic level, I play this game multiplayer exclusively anymore with my wife, and so that's an important thing for me. Okay, so it doesn't matter what we name it because you can change the name once you upload it, but I try to get it close at least. So we're going to say Matt's Mustachios Bretonnia Infantry Fix. Okay, so essentially what this mod is going to be doing is I'm going to be making it so that I like fighting battles with Bretonnia more. I think their cavalry auto resolve really well, so I don't really need to do this, but I like to fight battles and I like to fight as infantry. So the idea here is to make the Icon of Devotion ability, which is the Grail Relic, like AoE that improves leadership. I want it to also improve other stats to make the top tier infantry of Bretonnia, which isn't very good, hold up and potentially fight and kill other top tier infantry. All right, so we have this saved. I'm going to right click, add from pack file. Now, again, in data, just so you know, mine's already in data, but for those of you who can't find it, it's wherever you have the game installed. For me, it's solid state drive, Steam library, Steam apps, common, Warhammer 3 data. This is where I save the pack file, and this is where all the pack files are located. So let's talk about the big ones that every mod that you work with will probably use one of them at least. So first off, data. Data is what we're going to be working on, and data is where all the tables are, where the scripts are, where the UI stuff is. It covers a lot of things. There's also other numbers that if you can't find it in data, you can try these other numbers. Sometimes that is where we can find them. The next one is campaign variants. Campaign variants 3 is where you can find the variant mesh definitions of legendary lords, regular lords, heroes, basically your campaign characters. And variant mesh definitions are what define characters' models. So it's basically what what models make up a character. So his head, his legs, his body, his weapons, etc. All right, so that's for the campaign ones. If you're looking for just regular variant mesh definitions for like normal battle characters, that's going to be in variants. Also, variants DDS is where you're going to find the skins of the well, not rigid models, the three-dimensional models. So basically, each model is made up of 4 skins. Those skins are normal, which defines the three-dimensionality. Mask, which can define like where the faction colors are, and it also can define like glowing effects. Um, you have base color, which defines the base colors of the character and or the skin, and the last is material map, and that defines whether it's shiny like metal or not shiny like non-metals. And generally speaking, most of them tend to be in the first of each pack, except for Variants DDS tends to be in this one, Variants DDS 2. It's weird. Anyway, so for us though, we're going to be just working in the data pack. So we're going to open that up. All right, so here, as mentioned, you have like UI, you have your scripts here. For us, we're just going to be messing in DB, the database folder, and there's a lot of folders for it. And so it's often easiest just to search for them. So I'm going to do land units first. What I want to do first is make it so the Grail Relic unit itself has a shield. And the reason for that is that the model itself has a shield, but it doesn't block missile weapons. So I want it to not be just easily killed by missile weapons. So I want to give it a shield. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over in my search thing first of all, and I'm going to find shield, and I'm going to search for something with 55% block chance, the silver shield. So we're going to find missile block wood, okay, because the character has a wooden shield. So I'm going to copy that. And now I'm going to go back to my key, and I'm going to search for my Grail Relic. Right here. So I'm going to replace in the shield from none, I'm going to replace it with 55 block. Okay, so I have that change. That's the only change I need to make in land units for this, because I'm not really changing the unit itself. I'm changing the ability and the buffs that it gives. So this is good enough, but you could change all kinds of like battle stats in land units table if you wanted. So now that I have deleted everything I don't need and I'm just leaving the one I need, you need to rename the data pack here from data to anything you want. I just keep it unique to me and unique to my mod so that if I'm running multiple of my mods at once, they don't overlap. So Mass Mustachio Bretonnia data. Now, by changing this, it tells the game to just load this in and just overwrite anything that you have changed. But if you leave it as data, it reads it as the complete data. Okay, so now that we have that taken care of, what I want to do is I want to talk about these special abilities. So generally speaking, we can start at special ability phases. That's always a good place to start. Or if you're going to be modifying special abilities. Personally, I'm probably not going to change anything here, but I just want to point out that this ID links to a lot of stuff. As you can see, this is the link if we mouse over the column. And we're looking for icon of devotion. All right, so essentially, this is where a lot of things about the ability are defined. Duration means how long it lasts. -1 means unlimited. You can make it so it like heals some fatigue, but I don't think it works in terms of like healing fatigue, like healing like hit point healing. Um, this this frequency and heal amount tells like you can be like have a constant heal going on. You can also make it resurrect or not. So if you want it to be more like the vampire counts abilities. Anyway, so this imbue magical it makes it so it gives magical attacks. Imbue ignition of 0 means it doesn't give fire, but 1 would make it give fire. Affects enemies. This doesn't affect enemies, but it still has it checked. I'm not really sure why you actually set that in another table, like the max number of enemies affected and allies affected, in another table, which we'll probably get to because I'm sure it's like an overlap of something else. But anyway, the point is that we actually don't really need anything from this, but I'm going to still copy it as a point of reference, delete everything else, add row, just in case I later want to come back, I know where to find it. So I'm going to rename this Mass Mustachio, Bretonnia data. Okay. So again, this is just a good place to kind of start for our abilities if we need to make some changes to them. But like I said, I didn't make any changes to it, so really I don't need it in there, but I'm leaving it in anyway. And if nothing else, we'll make sure that if anyone did make changes to the special abilities of that, this changes it back to the vanilla. So it works better with the what I intended for my mod. Okay, now what I want to do is actually give my special ability like some improvements. So we're going to go to special ability phase, let's see, database, phase, stat effects table. So this is what actually is what stats are actually affected by this ability. So if we look, icon of devotion, it has just one. It's affecting the stat morale. Okay. So I'm copying it, deleting everything else, and pasting it back in. I'm going to rename this Mass Mustachios Bretonia data. And the reason why I'm doing that, oh, and I'm right clicking to rename in case that wasn't clear. What I'm doing here is I'm going to go back and add it again so I have a reference. So once I've changed the name, I can then put another one into it and then just use this as reference. So first of all, I want to give like physical resist. So I'm going to search for physical resist, but that's currently in phase. I'm going to change it to stat so I can find something that describes physical because I don't know exactly what they're called. So I just need to find something that does it. Now, in this, we have add and we have multiply. Okay. So if you want to subtract, well, you add a negative, but adding a positive would increase it by that amount. Multiply multiplies it by the amount. So you're usually talking like percentages. So if you wanted to do like a 20% increase, you would probably put 1.2. If you wanted like a 20% decrease, you would say 0.8, etc. Anyway, so I'm going to copy this phase. So icon of devotion also gives stat resistance physical, and I'm going to give it 15%. Okay, which is a 15%, but not percent as in multiplying, right? It's just a 15 value, which is a percentage. It goes up by 1% per value here. But if you're doing like a scalar multiplication, so multiply 1% would be 0.01. 100% is 1, etc. Just like math class. Okay. So we have accuracy. So essentially the idea here is I want to give certain stats to my units. And essentially I want the stats to be things that are affected by that peasants use. So any of the peasant infantry types or peasant units in general, I want it to improve them in some way. So things that peasants use are bows, melee weapons, and the siege equipment. I do not want any ability that I give to override something and make another unit pointless. So for example, I don't want to give Fury because if I gave that to to my characters, then it would be like, why would I use the Battle Pilgrims? Because they have Fury already. So I don't want to give anything that would be an overlap. Okay, so now I'm going to do missile resistance. So scalar missile damage, stat missile resistance. There we go. Add row, missile resistance. Mostly I'm focusing on defensive stuff, but I still want to give some offensive things because I don't know. It's not necessarily for balancing. It's more for enjoyment of battle, playing battles and stuff. So if I'm rolling with a bunch of infantry, and at the end of the day, Bretonnia has that finite amount of infantry you can bring anyway, where cavalry they don't, and so it's kind of like weird that despite having a restriction on the number of their peasant units, their peasants suck so bad. All right, so we have our resistance to missile. We're going to do melee defense and attack while we're at it, but let's do defense. There we go. There's one that has it. Add row. I'm going to give this 25, boost them up to about a tier 3 unit level. I'm going to also do melee attack. Now, I'm not going to boost the melee attack nearly as much because I don't want to boost it too much, but I also don't want it to be terrible. I might change this around, but we'll leave it at 5 for the time being. Essentially, it has enough defensive things to make it more on par. So if they do beat another unit, I want them to beat them very slowly. That's the idea. Now we're going to do some reload skill. Add row. Oops. I just pasted a bunch. We'll say 10. And we have our add. Okay. Now I'm going to melee attack. Now, the other thing that I could do maybe, instead of doing, oh, I already did melee attack, excuse me. We can do like magic resistance, maybe. I don't know if I'm going to do this. I didn't do this in the original, but I realized, oh, that's a defensive thing. That might be kind of fun. 10 here. Okay, so anyway, that is now taken care of. So I'm going to delete the one I don't need. And basically what this is saying is that the icon of devotion is giving all of these things to characters in its area of effect. All right, so now what I want to do is I want to make it so that this ability deactivates when the icon or when the Grail Relic is running away, because I feel like the icon of devotion isn't going to be very inspiring if they're running for their lives. So I want to make it so it deactivates. So what we need to do is special ability. There's a lot of special ability tables, just so you know. To auto deactivate flags. So this will automatically deactivate it. Now, there is no devotion, icon of devotion in here. So I'm going to have to add it in myself. But let's look at a deactivate. So I want morale is broken or lower. So I'm gonna copy this one. I'm going to delete everything else, add row, paste it in. So now I need to find what the name of the icon of devotion special ability is. So it is linked in the unit special abilities key. So this tells us right here, it says unit special abilities. That tells us what table it's in, and then the slash key tells us what column it's in. So unit special abilities, don't ask me why I deleted that, unit special abilities table. Now in here, there's more things. This tells you like the recharge, whether it's a passive. This is where it defines whether it targets friends or enemies and the max number and stuff. So this table is pretty useful. We don't need to make any changes to ours. We just need the name that it's using. So I'm going to find the icon of devotion right here, and I'm going to copy its key, and I'm going to use that here. So now the icon of devotion will deactivate when their morale is broken. All right, so that's good. We're going to rename this as Mass Mustachio Bretonnia Beta. Okay, I'm leaving here in case I need that icon of devotion again, so I'm just leaving it. Now what we want to do is we want to make it so it doesn't work on certain characters. So special ability. Oh, I spelled special wrong. Story of my life. To invalid. All right, so special ability to invalid target. So this makes it so that the ability will not target certain things. So first of all, I'm going to choose like flying currently. That's one I want to have. So I'm going to copy this, delete everything, add row, because there is nothing that limits what it can target, but I want to make it so that it really only targets who I want it to target, and that is the peasants. So it's not going to be able, I wish I could target specifically peasants, but I can't. So instead, this invalid target here, special ability invalid usage flags, I can find the complete list of things that you can choose to invalidate your target in that key. So special ability invalid, we can find that. Invalid usage flags. So if we look at like peasant, there isn't anything, which is too bad. But so I'm gonna have to do the best I can. So no peasants fly, so I'm gonna have to do flying currently. Okay, I need to make sure that the special ability, which is in unit special abilities, which again is Icon of Devotion, I need to change that. So now it won't target flying characters. I'm gonna add another one, and I'm gonna go look for commander class. So unit is commander class. So it will not target heroes and lords. Again, because I don't want to overpower them any more than I just really want it to target like infantry. Let's see. Okay, so I could like invalid dismounted units, but I can't invalidate mounted units, which is too bad. And I don't really want to do that anyway because I don't want it to mess with the crappy peasant cavalry anyway. So I just don't put my cavalry, my good cavalry, inside the area of effect. Doesn't matter. But I am going to do morale is broken or lower. So if they're running away, they're not going to be inspired by it. Okay. So I'm going to delete everything else that I don't need as reference. So delete. All right. So we have those three things that it won't target. It won't target commander class. It won't target flying units, and it won't target people who are running away. I'm going to rename this as Mass Mustachio Bretonnia Beta. Okay, so our mod is done. Now it's just a matter of getting it into the game. Huh, I did rename this. You were there, you saw it. Okay, now it's for reals done. Okay, what we want to do now is save our pack file. Again, this is saved in the data folder. Now what we want to do is open up a PNG. We need to make a PNG. I already have created one, and I'm probably going to change this to make sure it reflects the stats that I have. But basically what we need is a PNG. The image size needs to be a 256 by 256 pixels. So we have that. And we're going to save it as, in our data folder, we need to save it as the exact same name we named our mod. So that was Mass Mustachios Bretonnia Infantry Fix. Saved. Okay. So that is now saved. We have both the mod and the image with the same names in the same folder, the data folder. Now all we have to do is go to Warhammer 3, open it up, and go to Mod Manager. And we are going to go down to our mod here, and we are going to click on this little file here. And we're going to choose something. It doesn't really matter. I would call mine most likely an overhaul. It overhauls how Bretonnia plays, but overhaul is pretty strong of a word. A lot of times there's not a best thing, so just pick what you think is best. And we hit upload. We can accept without reading because, you know, who reads those things? But basically it's saying don't do bad stuff with the modding tools because otherwise Games Workshop will probably just make it so we can't mod this game anymore. They were pretty adamant about not allowing CA to do this anyway. So you really don't want to abuse that. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to go to Workshop, and we're going to go to the files that I've posted, which this is here. Currently it's hidden. If we want to make it visible, we say public here. We should change the name. So like I said, it doesn't really matter what you name the mod pack itself because you can always change the name in this, but I usually get it at least pretty close and then fix it up a little bit. So add my apostrophe and stuff. We're going to add a description as well later off camera. I'm going to upload more images, so add more pictures that show what's going on because people don't want to read the descriptions ever. The next is I'm going to attach this YouTube video as well so we can link to a YouTube video. But like I said, once you've made those changes, you can set this to public and you are set. So that is the complete modding process. Like I said, though, you know, depending on the mod that you're working on, you might be doing different things. You might need to use asset editor like I've done in many videos. You might need to use other tables than I did because this is very specific. Every mod is going to be very different. And if you're curious, like what tables do I need to use to do what I want in my mod, there's a few things you can do. One, ask questions on the modding Discord channel. That's a great resource, and people are very active in answering questions. But another good place to start is download a mod that does something similar to what you want to do and look at what tables they use. It can be maybe a little daunting when you open a mod and it has like, 100 freaking tables on it, but it at least gives you an idea of where you need to start. So generally, I try and start, if I am looking as a reference, I try and find a mod that doesn't do a lot of things. It's just doing the one thing that I'm looking for so that I don't have a bunch of extra tables that I don't need. But that at least gives me a point of reference for a starting position. The other thing is make use of the errors. I mean, my error here is none. But the most common thing that I see happening when people don't don't mod put a mod together correctly is they're not checking their error thing. Like this will tell you if you have something that's going to make your game not work. And so this is a really great resource. And a lot of times it's like spelling errors and stuff. They just make typos. So I do copy and paste a lot, so I'm not, typing in things and typing it wrong. So I'm often using things as references. But like I said, utilize the air, use reference mods, and ask questions on the modding Discord channel. People are there answering questions all the time. So, post your question and you can get the help that you need. So, anyway, hopefully that helps you get started on modding. Thanks for watching.